Yesterday, we introduced the Ten Commandments, and I talked a little bit about the fact that they come out of the book of Exodus. They're found there in the middle, that this is a way that God and the Jews are defining reality. They're understanding their relationship with each other. They're sort of providing overarching guidance to the covenant that gets established, which we call the Sinai covenant or the Mosaic covenant because they come through Moses. So, I said yesterday that the Ten Commandments, that we're calling this series the Big Ten, and by the way, it's worth noting, aren't you glad that when we talk about the Ten Commandments, the Big Ten remains the Big Ten? Now in football, the Big Ten is what, the Big 14, and it's about to become the Big 18 or something like that. But the Big Ten are still the Big Ten. We're looking at 10 commandments. The second thing to say about them is that they are supernatural insight. Yesterday I said they're a gift. Today, sort of a spin on that, elaborating that, I'm saying they're supernatural insight. Now, this is crazy talk to some people because we live in a world where there's hardly any agreement on anything anymore. No agreement on ultimate reality, even less on morality. Some people think that the only thing that we can talk about being real are the things that we can measure, the things that are empirically valid, things that are scientific, and that all of that is amoral. There is no God, there are no absolutes, there is no morality to be defined that way. So when we talk about this, we hear some people suggest that, that rules that are out there are just arbitrary power plays. So this would be all that you hear about Foucault and Derrida and all those others, that any rule, any command, any kind of structure, of course, is just one group seeking to assert power over another group. That's, of course, the theory or the idea, the starting assumption behind all the critical theories, that critical legal theory, critical race theory, all these critical theories, is that all of this is just, these are just power plays. A second group of moderns comes at it a little bit differently and doesn't say that there are no rules. It talks about the idea that there is a spiritual reality and that we need to be spiritual, but it's really, really fuzzy. I don't even know what to call this group anymore. It used to be we grouped a lot of this kind of thinking under the banner of New Age. In some ways, I guess maybe that's still the term that applies. But in some ways, New Age thinking or spiritual thinking is very counter to secularism. In another way, it tends to be very similar to secularism in the sense that it asserts that ultimate reality is whatever we choose it to be. It's all quite optional and arbitrary and adaptable. In both of these settings, I just want to note, in contrast to what is being claimed here in the Bible, in the Ten Commandments, in both of these settings, the real sins are not seeking self-expression, not figuring out who you are and living into that in the fullest means possible, and believing that there are some sort of absolutes that bind and constrain you. The big advocacy here is that what is most important about us is our will, our ability to assert, to self-define. The Ten Commandments fly in the face of this. The claim is there is ultimate reality, God has given us rules, and these rules are so intricately linked with God that they are absolute, and that we don't break them so much as we are going to break ourselves against them. That there are ultimate consequences, and that there's an ultimate reality, and we don't get to define it, we have to conform to it. So, let me just note that there is a sense that the Ten Commandments are like the laws of gravity with a bit of a delay factor built in. That we don't ultimately break the law of gravity. We sort of break ourselves. If we choose to ignore the law of gravity, we still are going to fall. Well, there's a sense in which we don't suffer immediate consequences for lying or adultery or stealing or whatever, but that there will ultimately be consequences. And so the Ten Commandments are this gift that are given to us by God, saying, this is the way the universe actually ultimately works. These rules grow out of who I am, and the world that I created is hardwired for them. So the Ten Commandments are a gift to people trying to figure out how to live together. The Ten Commandments are a gift from God given to people who are trying to figure out how life works. Have a good day.